your professor Olive for a while now, and I just really, you guys are very lucky that she's taking this time during class to allow you to get feedback and think about life after graduation. And I want to acknowledge, you know, COVID is hard. I hope you guys are all okay and healthy, and then we've had the fires. It's just a rough time. So it is a nerve-wracking time to be graduating, and I just want you to know that the Career Center, as well as your professors, we're here for you. We have the tools and resources available to help you out. Today's just a start. If anything today is helpful to you and you want more, you can make appointments with a career counselor, myself, or any of my coworkers on Spartan Connect. You can also email me. And yeah, so with that, let's go ahead and dive in. Want to let you guys know, number one, about me. So prior to coming to San Jose State, I've been here, I think I'm going on 3 years. I have lost track at this point. But prior to that, I was in human resources for a number of years, and I was involved very heavily in recruiting. So deciding if someone's resume got put in the trash or if they actually got the opportunity to interview with me. So I'll be sharing a lot of those tips with you today. But other than that, I've been in education for many, many years, and I've worked in a lot of settings, including nonprofits, sports, as well as colleges and high tech too. So that's me. We're going to focus on resumes today, but I realize you guys are also turning in your cover letters and a couple other things. So throughout the presentation, if you have a question or a comment, please put it in the chat box. Aliv will be watching that for me, and I'll address that, or let you know I'll address it in a moment. And I will be asking you to interact with me throughout the presentation in the chat box, as well as you can speak up if you wish. What else have I forgotten? I think that's it. We'll dive in. What I ask from you is that you have your resume either on your computer or printed out in front of you. The purpose of this presentation is for you to be actively working on your resume throughout it. Okay, don't just listen. Like, I'm hoping you're going to mark it all up. Okay. So with that in mind, let's dive in. So the first thing is, the resume format is critical. When I was reviewing resumes, we make very quick decisions as to if we're going to consider this person or not. So I want to show you guys a quick example of a good format. This is pulled from the San Jose State Resume Guide, which Olive has posted for you guys on Canvas, and it just gives some of the common questions we get, okay? So suggestions on what should be bolded, what not to bold, the size formatting to use. You will see and notice that there's a lot of opinions on resumes out there. There's not one right opinion out there. You have to it's your own personal document, so you have to make your own choices. We've gone back and forth on this. Personally, I think it's fine for you to use your SJSU email. Just whatever email you use, make sure it's professional, not like 123bunny@hotmail.com. Just be careful. We pay attention to those things. So here's a couple other tips. I really like the format and the layout of this resume. It's very clean. We'll talk more later about the importance of having at least one version of your resume that doesn't have lines and colors and pictures. I want you guys to make a quick note to yourself under education. Right now, if your San Jose State bachelor's degree is not the first thing under education, please fix that. Okay? Should be the first thing. Any additional degrees would be below it. Okay. Your expected graduation date, the recruiter wants to know when you're available. So make sure you're clear that you're graduating in December or spring. Let's do our first chat box here. Relevant coursework is really valuable because it shows that you have some base knowledge of some key skills from your field. So in the chat box, can you guys please type in, for both yourself and the rest of your people in your class here today, what kind of kinesiology classes did you include in there that really show some knowledge of kinesiology? So please just type in, and then Olive, if you could read for us, what are some of the courses that are coming in through the chat box?
Of course. Clinical physiology and pathophysiology and biomechanics. Clinical exercise physiology, sports marketing for sports management, physiological assessment. Oh my God. Physical activity of older adults, physiological assessment, prevention and care of athletic injuries, motor learning, development, clinical exercise, motor learning, assessment of psychomotor, adapted physical activity, that's very important for IPAC, neuroanatomy, wow, that's a good one, sports rehab, diversity, stress and health, motor development.
So guys, you nailed it. So we're not talking English, Math 101. We're talking about kinesiology courses that are very, very directly related to what you want to do. One thing I didn't hear from the group, and I want you guys to make a note of this, just because you guys are studying kinesiology does not mean that's going to be what you do after graduation or for the rest of your life. This degree is opening up a million doors for you. So let's just say that someone out in the group here today would really love to get into some kind of marketing. If you have taken a marketing course, that would also be a very good one to add to your relevant coursework, because it's going to show maybe you haven't done a ton of marketing, but you've taken the course. Also, can I see in the chat box with a yes or a no, how many of you guys have taken an additional like LinkedIn Learning or Coursera course to learn a skill that you haven't learned yet at San Jose State? Can I get some yeses or nos?
Excel. See, that's a great skill that you need to put, computer skills, Excel.
Mm-hmm.
What else? SPSS.
Mm-hmm.
SPSS. PowerPoint.
Good. Great.
Excel.
So you guys get it. So make a note to yourself right now if maybe you left off a course or two that should be on there that shows you have a balanced skill set. And also keep in mind, if you're reading a job description and you keep seeing some skills that are listed as preferred and you don't have them, do not get mad at Olive and the rest of the San Jose State staff. Go on LinkedIn Learning and take some courses, okay? You are not done with your education after you graduate from San Jose State. We are all still learning. I feel like I completely relearned PowerPoint over the summer, okay? And I think all of us have had to learn Zoom and a lot of other tools, okay? So those are some key feedback on the coursework. Now let's highlight the projects. Again, on the chat box, so projects are extremely important for two reasons. Number one, they're going to highlight some kinesiology skills that maybe you haven't done in an internship yet, but you learned. Okay, these can be a group project that you did, it could be a research paper that you wrote, it could be a volunteer thing you did on campus. You don't have to get paid, okay? So the project on here was a school development project that this person did, and it really taught them a lot about grants and contracts and donors and stuff like that. In the chat box, I'd like you guys to please type in a project you included on your resume. And if you're out there and you have no projects on your resume, just start writing, because they're going to probably done projects you did too, okay? So Olive, what project names do we have?
Before we go into that, there is a question asking, what about an internship? Do we list it as an internship or project?
That is such a good question. Thank you. So I will show you, this is only the top half of the resume. On the next page, I'll show you the rest where you'll see. So typically, if you've had an internship, it's going to go in the work experience section. Okay. Yep. The reason is sometimes some people very falsely feel like a project isn't as like important because you weren't paid. That's not the case, okay? But usually I will see people's, if they've had the internship title, it's great to include that, and you usually see it in the work experience section. Number two, I want to point out, The reason on this sample resume that project is listed before work experience is because this person's work experience wasn't as directly related to what they want to do after. Maybe, you know, you'll see that in a second. But if your work experience or your internships are more impressive than your class projects, they should be listed first. Does that make sense? Hopefully.
So there is an intern field work fall prevention movement project.
Yes.
For older populations, I guess.
Mm-hmm. What else do we have in the chat box? What other projects or people? And now write these down, guys, because you've probably done them.
A marketing plan for an SJSU sports team, basketball, volleyball, soccer.
Great.
That is a great one for applications. What else? Come on. I told them that you were going to tell them that the class projects are very important last week, and they've been thinking about it. Community action project, participant project, getting to know someone with a disability and creating an exercise plan for them, research paper for my summer internship. And this class particularly has a movement project where they create something that is relevant to their, you know, career field. And that is a huge project, Kristin. Some of them will create a web page, some of them will create a training program. So that also, I think, should be included in this project section. Community outreach project highlighting the benefits of strength training for persons with spinal cord injuries. Research paper for my summer internship. Yeah. HR, heart rate and VO2 of sedentary individuals project.
Good. Great job, you guys. Thank you so much for all the forethought ahead of this. I want to make 2 tips. So be very careful about how you word these projects, okay? Because if you were to write on there research paper, that does nothing for me as a recruiter. If you were to give it a title, so maybe it's mass index and child obesity research paper, comma, SJSU, and the date, okay? So make sure your title clarifies the topic that you're working on, because if you just say web page, does nothing for me. But if it's biometrics web page, or created a biometrics web page, comma, San Jose State, fall 20, then you've got my attention. Okay, do we have any questions? Oh, and I also want you guys to notice the projects that we've been listing off, they should have bullets under them explaining what you did. Okay, don't just name them and leave it. Okay, so this one you'll see there's 3 of them, and we're going to talk more about how to write good broad bullets in a moment. Okay, so let's go on to the second half of the page. All right.
I have a couple of questions, Doctor.
Please go for it.
Actually, I just want to go back briefly on the education part. So I see include associate degree, but not transfers. Do you mean as in a transfer degree?
That's a good question. So typically, I think Olive told you this as well, I would prefer your resume to be a page. If it gets beyond a page, it means you have a little bit more experience. Maybe some of you do, but there's always the chance the recruiter is going to skim really fast and they're not going to read the second page, okay? So I'm always looking for ways when I work with students to shorten your resume. And many of you guys got AA degrees before you came to San Jose State. That's awesome. But honestly, the recruiter doesn't care that much that they understand the path. They care when you're graduating with your bachelor's. So unless the exception would be you're trying to get into marketing and maybe you got your AA in marketing from De Anza, well then you should list that. But on top would still be your BA from San Jose State. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool.
Another question came up, study abroad.
Mm-hmm. So I did study abroad, changed my life. And I think recruiters, I think shows you're kind of like a go-getter and you take risks, and it just says a lot. So where I like to put study abroad is let's just look at our sample here. So you'd have BA in English, I'm sorry, I should have changed this, BA Kinesiology, San Jose State, relevant coursework, and then one line under it, it would say University of Soledad, May 2018, you know, study abroad. So it would just be, show them that you took some classes somewhere else, and it's really more of a thing to kind of grab their attention for them to ask you about. Unless you did a really cool project while you were abroad.
I had another quick question, because I did do study abroad, but when I was at community college, I got a certificate for your EKG technician certification.
Oh.
And so I generally do list it because that is something that we use throughout the kinesiology, like different studies.
Yes, that is the right thing to do. So if you got a certificate that helps you stand out, or if your AA degree is perfectly aligned with your bachelor's or enhances it, you do want to mention it. It's more of, I went to De Anza and I got my AA in general studies. That does not need to be on there because it doesn't add anything to it.
Another question came up. What about community college study abroad or other colleges before transfer to San Jose State? Include or leave it out to shorten?
So I've worked with students who've had this path. They've gone to like 3 colleges before they graduate. I think I would leave that off. I don't think it really adds anything to the resume. They just care that you're going to finish with that 4-year degree.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to move on to the second half of the page here. Okay, so as you can see, actually this resume, maybe I would do it differently, but this person, they have grants experience and volunteer activities coordinator. I think this person and I went back and forth about if their project should be on top of their work experience or not. It's a personal thing. This person has very good work experience. The thing I want to highlight is just if you listed in experience, I don't care if you got paid or not. Okay, it does not make it any less that it was volunteer. Okay, so even your volunteer projects can still go in your experience section. There's a note here. If you're doing the job currently, you need to be speaking in the present tense. I am recruiting people for this. I am organizing this. But anything from the past is always in past tense. So the example would be maintained, consulted, designed. So your recruiters are looking for errors to show that you're not detail oriented. So be very careful to make sure you're being consistent with your terms. Okay. I want you guys to note here in the skills section, if you are fluent in another language, call it out. People in the Bay Area love that. And in the computer section, you can see they also added social media and Google Apps. You should also put Zoom on here. I need to update this. And if you've done Google Teams or if you've used Slack, anything that would show you are ready to just jump right into any work environment, you should list that. Okay. One thing I want to point out in the activity section, a lot of you guys are involved in clubs on campus, which I love. If you're just a member of a club, this is a great way to list it. However, this is huge. If you've had any kind of leadership role in your club, whether it is a project you did, or maybe you were a treasurer or a pledge class, something, you should have it, you should include at least one bullet about it, and you might want to consider retitling activities as leadership, okay? Because if you're running a club or you're a leader person, it can get kind of lost at the very bottom of your resume. So let's get some tips going, or we can talk about how to make sure that really pops on your resume. We want them, when they do a quick scan of your resume, we want them to catch on very quickly that you were a leader on campus. We don't want them to skim over that. Any questions on this part? Okay, so these are a lot of my pet peeves and tips. Hopefully you've written down at least one thing to change or adjust on your resume. Let's go into in the chat box here, guys. We've been talking a lot about quick, making first impressions about people, which is what a resume is. How long do you think the average employer looks at a resume before they decide to throw it away or consider it? So in the chat box, put in your guess. 5 minutes.
30, 10, 10,
30
10,
seconds.
10, 30, 10, 10,
All right,
30,
thank you. So you guys are, anyone who put 10 is right.
5, 10, 30, 30, 10. Not
Okay.
minutes, seconds, right?
Yeah, it's only 7 to 10 seconds. So that's why having a very simple, clean format and the order and your most impressive things being up further up top is so incredibly important. Okay. One of the activities I do, so in addition to workshops, I do one-on-one resume reviews. I get booked up pretty fast, but you can, after I'll tell you how to, if you'd like to do that. And one of the things I do is I do a first impression, and I just look at your resume for 10 seconds and I say, okay, I could tell you were a kin major, that you were a president of your club, and you have a lot of customer service experience. Is that what you're hoping to tell me? And they're like, no. Okay, then we need to reformat things a little bit. So, so yes, you just want to remind you, it's quick. All right. So this next part, is I want to know in the chat box, how many versions of your resume do you have currently? Do you have 1 version, 2, 3? What are they saying in the chat box, Olive?
3, 2,
Mm-hmm.
2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2.
Perfect.
6 to 7. Wow.
Yeah.
2, 2.
So here's the thing, guys, is that I'm really glad to hear most of you have 2 or more. You have to personalize every resume, at least a little, okay? The reason is let's just say I did a resume review this morning, and this girl, her objective of her resume, and it was a good resume. It said, I'm looking for either an accounting, HR, or administrative internship. And I said, first impression, I was like, you don't know what you want. You just asked me for 3 things. So that's why you want to have a couple versions of your resume. If you are looking at 2 very different types of positions, maybe you're looking at sports management or athletic training, your sports management resume is going to be a little different. The wording is going to be different. You're going to highlight different skills than your athletic training resume. Okay, and if you need, and it's time consuming to do this, but it's worth it, guys. You're going to get more interviews if you tailor the work you do. I personally would say it is smarter to spend more time having 3 great versions of your resume than it is to send out the same resume to 25 positions a day. I think it's actually better to be very tailored in this job market. Okay. So what we're talking about is you have to tailor it, and the question now is, well, how do I tailor it, Kristin? So here's some tips on the screen here. I've already started talking to you guys about keywords. Okay, Olive was reading off things like, you understand things like biomechanics and weight-bearing exercise, and you've learned about different populations like elderly people or people with
disabilities.
So Olive, are there any other what other kind of keywords do you see popping up? So we've talked about any kind of abilities, we've talked about age groups, we've talked about stretching techniques, biomechanics, any other kind of keywords that your students should be incorporating in their resume?
Heart rate and VO2. Community action,
Mm-hmm.
marketing plan, fall prevention.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Neuroanatomy, motor learning, adapted physical activity,
Mm-hmm.
clinical exercise, like pathophysiology. Sometimes, you know, people who are not experts in the field wouldn't understand what clinical exercise physiology. Maybe you can go into details about people with heart diseases or, you know, chronic diseases. How can they incorporate physical activity into their lives? You know, just exceptions or special situations, or what else do you think? You guys know better about your own emphasis than I do. I only know exercise physiology, so go ahead and
Please put it in the chat box if you missed one. And also, while we're waiting for those to come in, I want to tell you guys, and we're going to look at the wording in a moment. I'm going to teach you how to do that. But on the right side here, it says review the preferred qualifications. This is my biggest pet peeve about San Jose State students. And I have worked at 7 or 8 different schools. I'm San Jose State. I'm not buttering you up. By far my favorite students, most hardworking and just down to earth people I've ever worked with. So you guys are my favorite, but you're also too humble sometimes. And so what I mean by that is, if you see a job description that says it, maybe don't just limit yourself to a job description that says entry level, because not everyone uses those words. Okay, so if your keyword is entry level, you are making your window too small. Okay, you need to be using keywords like if you're trying to get into marketing management or sports management, to more general keywords. But also, if the job description says 1 to 3 years experience, or even 2 to 4 years experience, you are qualified. Okay, that is the equivalent of entry level. And you've been at San Jose State for anywhere between 2 and 4 years. The classes you've been taking qualify you as having a couple years of experience. Okay, so that's something, it's a mind shift that most students come in, they're like, Kristin, I don't have any work experience. I'm like, look at this biomechanics project you did. That's amazing. Or, oh, you trained or you helped rehab one of your friends that hurt their ankle. Like, that's amazing experience. So I want you guys to be careful. You don't want to, now if you're applying for jobs for 5 to 10 years of experience and you don't have that, you're not going to get an interview. But remember, don't limit yourself to the word entry level. You know, anywhere between 2 and 4 or 1 and 3 is probably fine. Okay.
Any keywords?
Any more keywords we've missed?
I don't have a keyword, but can I ask a question? So you said for 1 to 3 years. So like, does it have to be like a specific project? Because I'm kind of thinking back on my classes, and I mean, other than like maybe like a presentation or like maybe this is like the humbleness. I don't consider myself to really have a lot of like experience with projects. So I don't know if just taking the class is like enough. You know,
yeah. Sure. What kind of, I think it's Sasha, am I pronouncing that right?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of presentations have you done over the years? Do you remember any of the topics?
Not really.
Anyone who's been in class with Sasha can help her remember.
I feel a little on the spot. I have to really like think about it, and like just thinking about like what I would even categorize as being a project.
Yeah, so make a note of this and then think back. It could be a presentation, could be a PowerPoint.
I think all of us have had to take like communication studies, so we've all had to deliver a speech of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did do that.
And if your speech was about a sports-ish topic, that can be a project.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, or something related to what you're trying to get into. What's your specialty or your emphasis, Sasha?
My emphasis is rehab science, so I'm trying to go into PT.
Got it. So have you done any research papers or anything about certain populations and the injuries they have? And
yeah, I did a research. Well, it was for my physical activity for older adults class, and I also did it a little bit for my internship, but it was seeing the benefits of aqua-based exercise for people with knee osteoarthritis, and I was trying to focus on like the geriatric population. That's my interest. So I don't know if that's something to include, or, you know, I just don't know what to include all the time, so.
That you should absolutely include that. Now, let's see if we can, let's group think here for a second. So you said it's benefits of aqua therapy for who?
For people with knee osteoarthritis.
Okay. So what kind of bullets? Let's just brainstorm. I haven't taught you guys this yet, but I know you've read the resume guide. What kind of bullets could she highlight? And I'll give you the first one. If you want to get into research, it would be really good to show that you know where to find legit, valid information. So it could be use the Journal of Sports Medicine and the blah, blah, blah site for national athletic training to pull statistics on arthritis survivors. I'm making things up.
Yeah. But.
So it can be a research. You could highlight that you did a interactive PowerPoint presentation with activities, and I really like when people use the word demonstrated. If you ever did any kind of demonstrated the correct movements or demonstrated stretches, decrease injury stuff. Does that, anybody else have some ideas of what else you put in your bullets under your projects that you could help Sasha with? Go ahead and unmute yourself too if you'd like, guys.
If there was like any outside like software that she used, so like for one of my studies I used SPSS.
Yeah. And who's speaking?
Wendy?
Wendy.
Wendy. Hi, Wendy. Thank you for sharing. Make sure you clarify what you used it for. So you could say, utilized SPSS to what? I don't know anything about SPSS, so what do you use it for?
Statistics.
Okay, so to pull statistics on the amount of people, blah, 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 blah. Or if you put information in SPSS and it produces a graph, and then you explained or demonstrated the difference in something, or there's a word that's really good. It's when you identified a trend. So if you did all this research, Sasha, and you identified some like common mistakes or common trends, write that down. It's a thinking style you're demonstrating.
Okay, so like basically what I found in my research and like the approach I went about to get the research.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Absolutely. Great question.
And then you will continue creating something with the outcome of that research in this class. You are creating a training program based on what you found, and then you will present that to me or to this class, and maybe put it on YouTube, or it's going to be a video or whatever. So just figure out those keywords, or what do you call them? Qualification words or action words? Yeah, action words.
Yeah.
And just make that a huge contribution as a project.
Yeah. And Sasha, I would encourage you to, all of you guys have used, I have to be careful, I don't overstretch my boundaries here. All of you guys have now used VMOC. Some of you may have realized you can actually send, once you've uploaded your resume on VMOC, you can ask your teacher, me, a family member to review it and provide feedback. So you've got a couple options here. Today is just to get you thinking and to write ideas. You can make an appointment with me and we'll figure out the wording. You can upload your resume on VMOC, try some feedback, and then ask for additional feedback from Olive or me. So there's a lot of ways. This way of talking, it's hard unless you practice. So work with me. We'll make it sound good.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a question if Sasha is done.
Go for it. Thank you.
If we choose to include projects like a research paper, should we also include the grade?
Such a good question. I think there's value in that, especially if you got an A. If you say earned an A and was recognized for my creativity and new ideas. Now, I worked with a student last week whose GPA was prominently displayed on the top of the resume. It should be, because it was like a 3.9. And all of her bullets under her projects, one was used by saying she got an A, and I was like, girl, you don't need to do that. I can already tell you have a 3.9, like maybe on one of your projects highlight that you got an A or save it for a story. But if it's already clear you're an honor student, don't waste one of your bullets explaining you got an A. But let's just say your grades are just average, which is fine too. Making a note that you earned an A and why is really helpful, but it can be like overdone if you have just too many lists of like honors and A's. It can be too much sometimes, so be careful.
Can I ask another? Oh, sorry.
Sure.
On topic of this, how many like bullet points per section are we supposed to be kind of sticking to?
Such a good question. Thank you for asking, Sasha. So my personal is I try not to go beyond 4. And honestly, I usually think 3 is a little better. The other key is that your bullet should not be more than 2 lines long. If it's heading into the 3rd line, it probably needs to be 2 bullets instead of 1. Okay, because remember, we're trying to keep it short and concise so people read it. And we're gonna get into that. That's gonna be the critical part of our workshop here in just a minute. I have like 2 more basics to go through, but great question. Was there one more question?
No.
Okay. All right, guys. So here's another exercise I want you to try out with your resume in front of you right now. So there are specific skills employers are seeking and looking for on a resume to determine if you're worth an interview, okay? And those are on the screen. So can you solve a problem that comes up? Can you work well with others? Are you professional? Do you have those analytical and quantitative skills of being able to look at a graph and make some determinations? The next one is written communication. So they're looking to see, do you have a bunch of errors or spelling mistakes? Are you detail oriented? And the last one is leadership. Like, how do you get along? Can you influence others? So there's other skills they look for, but these are the most common 6. I want to challenge you guys for a second, okay? I want you to look at the bullets on your resume. And I bet you anything, one of the biggest mistakes people make is all of their bullets are about the same thing. They're all about teamwork, or maybe they're all about writing or answering the phone. They're all about customer service. So I want you to take a quiet moment and look through a section of your bullets and be like, what kind of skills might I not be displaying? The one that people most commonly leave out is the analytical and quantitative skills. People forget to show that they've worked with numbers, or they can help understand or explain numbers. You've all taken a class in that, okay? So make sure you haven't left that off. Or sometimes people really forget to mention that they've worked in a group project to complete something on time. I know you guys have all done that too, so make sure one of your bullets covers that. So what I want you to do, and go ahead and put it in the chat box if you'd like, what is the skill listed on the screen that you have left off your resume that you need to add? So please share with us in the chat box, which one do you feel like you need to figure out how to put on your resume right now? And nobody's perfect. That's why we're here today.
Written communication twice, analytical problem solving and analytical, problem solving, analytical.
So like I used measurement and evaluation as one of my like key things for the courses that I've taken. And that to me is like identifying that I have analytical skills, as well as I've put on SPSS on there. So does it need to be in a bullet necessarily? Or are you just talking about the entire resume?
Just make sure it's showing up somewhere.
Roger.
Great question.
Problem solving.
Problem solving, okay. So it's sounding like quite a few of you guys need to add a bullet or statement or something about analytical or problem solving.
Or written communication.
Or written communication. So written communication is a pretty easy one to fit in because maybe you wrote a paper about something. Maybe that's in your project section, completed a 10-page paper on blah, blah, blah. Or, you know, written communication, or managed incoming emails and answered questions from customers. That shows written communication. That one's a little easier, but I'd like someone or two people to be vulnerable here for a second, please, and share with me, it doesn't have to be perfect, but how did you show analytical or problem solving on your resume? Just put it in the chat box. And somebody spoke up a moment ago and she mentioned the SPSS and everything. So that's how she did it. Great job. Anybody else willing to share how they think they kind of displayed those skills?
Can I ask you a question, Kristin?
Sure.
So do we really have to imply that we have these skills under the project or, you know, the bulleted items, or do we list these in the skills section?
I'm so glad you asked me. It's a personal pet peeve, and a lot of people feel the same as me. Don't have a section that just says skills and write problem solving, ability to work in a team, professionalism. Please don't do that.
That's what I meant. Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm so glad you did. So the reason I say please don't is I used to have this presentation I did, and it was like, basically that can be like a pickup line, what we consider like a pickup line for recruiters. When you just tell them all the words they want to hear in order, we're smarter than that. We pick up on that, okay? I would prefer that you demonstrate it by showing that you took a class in it, or a bullet talking about a paper that you wrote, or a workshop that you delivered. It's better to pepper it throughout your resume, but just having a section of skills. It's different in your computer skills section where you talk about SPSS, Excel, Google Slides. That's different. That's good. But please, like the personal soft stuff, like problem solving, written communication, please don't write a list of that.
Very good. Because they're going to dig during the interview. Just show us or give me an example where you had the ability to work in a team and became successful, right? So you have to come up with something to substantiate what you are suggesting about yourself.
Yeah.
Sooner or later. Okay.
Did anyone come up with any ideas in the chat box? Probably showed that.
Sport facility cost benefit analysis project.
Good. That's a good one.
Yeah, say you have a certification like first aid or CPR, would you list it under skills? And then, hold on, for my internship, I used a platform called SOSI to understand the amount of engagements we have in our social medias. Would that count as analytical, quantitative social media accounts? Okay. And then did in service for staff regarding aquatic rehab safety.
Yeah, those are great. Someone asked a question of like, I have CPR, I have this. So that is fine in a skill section to just write, you know, CPR certified. That's totally fine. Now, I have met with students and they have a certification that is so specific and targeted to what they're trying to do. Like they got a SPSS certification and they want to get into that. I would work with them to put that closer to the top of the resume, maybe even the education section where it won't get buried. So if you feel like your certification or class you took is getting hidden, you and I work together and we can do it different ways. There's no one right way to do a resume.
I can give you an example from my own resume. You know, when I applied for personal training jobs or sports director jobs, I listed my NASM personal training certification in the education sector. Section. I mean, because it has been with me since 2005, and you know, I've been certified for all these years. It's part of my education, right? So I listed it. I mean, if you are in that personal training business or, you know, fitness, exercise, and if you are certified, that needs to go in there, in the education section, right? Kristin, am I right?
That's exactly what I would suggest. Some fields, I will even have people put like, Olive, do you have like a acronym for these certifications you have? Like
PT, Certified Personal Trainer.
So some people will even say it's that Olive on her resume should have Olive Dietrich, comma, PT. Like that could be the very first line on your resume. And then you'd also put it in your education section.
CSCS, for example, that's another institution and certifications. What's that? Strength and conditioning. CSCS.
Also,
and people even sign their names, as I do, with that acronym in the end, like Olive Dietrich, comma, CPT, MA, and CPT.
Also, I'm sure, Olive, you've got some students in this class who are maybe actively working on a certification. You should give yourself credit for that too. So in the education section, underneath San Jose State's bachelor's, you should say CPT in progress, expected 12/21. I don't know, but just because you're not done with it, you need to give yourself credit to prove that you're working on it.
Good point.
Same thing with a class that maybe you're enrolled in right now in LinkedIn. You could put that in your related coursework, and then you would just clarify the interview. Yeah, I'm currently enrolled in that. Okay. All right, so hopefully that gave you guys some ideas. You've now maybe identified maybe a skill or two that you're just leaving off your resume that you need to add in. Or maybe you're seeing some trends like, oh shoot, every single one of my bullets is about how I do presentations. Now, I only need to hear about your presentation skills once. So make sure you balance out the skills that you're demonstrating. Okay, we're gonna get into that more. Okay, this is just a quick list you might wanna take a picture of, okay? And the reason this is important is as a career counselor, when I work with you, one of the challenges I have with San Jose State students, I've mentioned this, is that they're very humble. And they'll say, you know what, I'm not any different than Sasha sitting next to me. Or, you know, I don't know, I get good grades, but I don't know. They just can't articulate how they're different or what they're good at, okay? And that's a challenge. It's going to be hard to get a job if you can't identify that. So these are some of the questions I like to ask people that are feeling a little stuck. So, you know, think back to your time at San Jose State. Is there one class you just killed it in? If so, which one was it? And what kind of skill, what were you doing in that class you were so good at? Okay, so that's your special sauce right there. That's something that maybe you need to think about for your job after college. Sasha could ask her other group members, like, why did you like working on this paper with me? What did I bring to the table? And maybe then Sasha's mom or dad or group member will say, oh my God, you're so good at keeping everyone on task. Or everyone was freaking out and you were calm and collected and you helped us meet our deadline. That's Sasha's transferable skill, like that, or that's her secret sauce that she's bringing to the table. So ask your friends, your family, ask your teachers, boyfriends, girlfriends, partners, people who've been on projects with you. If you're having a hard time figuring out how you're different and unique, you need to get feedback from other people, okay? And then just a last minute thing here. All this list of skills here, I think are pretty thorough. If you've used any of these skills such as Zoom and Google Chat and IM and Hangouts, this is demonstrating you're comfortable with technology. And that's so key right now during COVID, especially since you may be applying for a job where you're gonna be remote. They need to know you're gonna be successful. And here's where you guys are actually maybe very lucky. And I'm making a generalization. I can't see all your faces, but let's just say you guys are on average 18 to 25 years old. Okay, there's gonna be some younger, some older. If you're in that age group or you're finishing college right now, you have a leg up on someone like me who's in their 40s who had to teach myself all of this technology. I'm not great with having multiple Slack channels open and somebody emailing me, someone calling me, and I'm not great with all that because I didn't grow up with it, okay? So make sure your skills section is highlighting any type of technology you're comfortable with. To be able to say that you completed your degree 100% online, I think is a real pride to be able to say. So you're going to be competing against someone like me for a job. You make it clear that you've got technology skills on top of me, you know, or hopefully you see what I'm saying here.
Yep. Of course.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go through this part pretty quick. There are some very common mistakes that that get your resume thrown away right away. So just don't fall into any of these mistakes. Okay.
Excuse me for a second. You can keep going. I'll be right back.
Sure. So have 2 to 3 people look over your resume. Grammar mistakes are not okay. Spelling mistakes are not okay. We are looking for a reason to throw out your resume. Okay, so get that checked. And we'll talk in a moment about bullet number 3, listing tasks that you did instead of what you accomplished. That is something I'll teach you in a moment. And those are what a bullet is, or that's what an accomplishment statement is. Okay. All right. So this is the meat of the presentation where I'm going to teach you how to write good bullets. Okay. So this is how you stand out, is by adding in accomplishment statements. Okay. How many of you guys, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or whatever those things I can see right now, have either retail or customer service coffee experience, that if you've worked your way through college with that kind of stuff? Quite a few of you guys? Awesome, that's what I thought. So you should proudly have that on your resume, but please do not say your bullet should not be served coffee, okay? What I'm gonna teach you is you need to highlight a skill you used serving coffee that will make you an amazing physical therapist. So maybe your ability to quickly make a connection with a customer, even over Zoom, and to relate to them, and they will open up to you, okay? That is something you learn in customer service. If you're not good at, you're not gonna be good at your job, okay? So please, if right now on your resume is something like Macy's or Starbucks, and you have a statement like sold clothes or served coffee, this next section is for you. We need to teach you how to write about that as an accomplishment that could be used in any field. Okay? All right, so let's practice that. So these bullets I keep talking about, I want you to think about them not as bullets, but as accomplishment statements, okay? If you're gonna take precious space on your resume to display these, you better be proud of them, okay? And it doesn't matter if all you did was to enter data into the computer, there is something to be proud of, and there's something valuable about that, okay? So there's a technique about how to figure out what to write. And take a picture of this screen or write this down. This is the technique, and then we're gonna practice it, okay? So the first question is, what do you do? Or what did you do in your coffee shop job? And I'll show you some samples in a second. You need your first bullet. This is my biggest tip. Your first bullet needs to paint a picture for the reader. Where were you? Were you working in a hospital? Were you working in a clinic? Who were you serving? Were you working, were you doing stretches with recently injured high school athletes? Like, help me paint the picture, okay? Oops, went too fast. So that's painting the picture. What did you do? You're also going to cover how you did what you did. So you'll notice in a moment that the bullets start with action verbs. They never say, I did this, I did that. You're gonna start with words like demonstrated, stretches, produced written reports, okay? Number 3, this is the hardest part, but I'll give you tips on how to make it easier. Your bullets, not every single one of them is gonna include numbers. It's just not possible, okay? But I want you to answer the question, so what? Why did you do it, okay? So anytime you can use numbers to display how many people did you present to? Did you do a presentation for 50 people? It's pretty impressive. Did you write a 10-page paper? Good. For those of you guys who are in a club, did you increase involvement or enrollment in your club? You may not know how many percent, but you should highlight that you increased it. Or maybe you were working on a data entry project and you decreased the margin of error of something, okay? So maybe you decreased something. Even better if you decreased it by 15%, that's awesome, but I know you can't always have those numbers, okay? So increase, decrease, improve the processes, improved processes so that I could serve coffee 50 times faster than the average person, okay? So that's how you show your results, okay? So these are the ideas. You've got a picture of this. Now let's actually see what that looks like, okay? So I titled this slide Weak Example because this is what usually a resume looks like if they've had no training. Under experience, they will call themselves an aide. They won't clarify what kind of aide, like a PT aide or occupational therapy. They'll just say aide. And then they'll have some bullets, but it's so basic, okay? I observed physical therapists. Doing what? Were they rehabbing injured knees? Were they doing stretches? I demonstrated exercises. Okay, you're getting closer. That's good, but what kind of exercises? This is where Aleph was talking about the keywords. So Aleph, what kind of exercises have your students learned about? What kind of words? Are they biometric or what kind of words?
Rehab science people, come on, I don't know. Injury preventative, injury prevention exercises, or
I mean, like right now I'm teaching a class for falls prevention. So I would probably, just use that I'm teaching exercises in the promotion of fall prevention.
Perfect. Perfect. What else? I think is there another comment in the box?
Core strengthening.
Core strengthening. Good.
Can you say tracked and conserve records, including attendance and goal setting?
Absolutely. That sounds fantastic. Good job. And
land arthritis.
And then also, I know some of you guys that are trying to go to PT school, maybe they had you putting hot and cold packs on people. Okay, that's close. But you need to tell me if you wouldn't have been there to put a hot pack on Joe's knee, what would have happened? Were you trying to increase blood flow? Were you using hot and cold packs to reduce
inflammation
or pain management? I don't know. Okay, so take a picture because the bubble, those are the questions I'm going to ask you to make your bullets on the left-hand side more detailed. and have more keywords. Okay, so now we've talked about it. Let's show you what these bullets what they look like. Oh, nope, too far. Okay, take a moment to read this. So I'm not saying these are perfect, but I added more detail to these bullets.
Wow, what an improvement.
Okay. So what you're gonna see here, guys, is the difference when I talk to student A and student B. Student A says, I'm a PT student. Student B says, I am studying rehab science, and I have learned all about the rehab techniques of X, Y, and Z. I already falsely believe that student B is smarter and more ready for an internship or ready for a master just because the words they're using. Okay, so make sure your words are showing your intelligence. It's very word centric.
For example, one student put it in the chat, balance and endurance training, and then doing cryotherapy for inflammation treatment. So I would suggest, instead of saying doing, administering cryotherapy, right?
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Performing, demonstrating, conducting.
Yeah.
Another thing, thank you, Alex, Aleph, is make sure, and you guys all did VMOC, we'll talk about that in a second. It will pick up and dock you points if you're always using the same action verb. Remember, the action verb is the first word after the bullet. Observed, demonstrated, administered. You got to have variety, pull out those thesauruses. Okay, I want to give you guys one more. So maybe some of you guys have some experience with coaching. So pretty common, basic, coached boys, taught soccer drills, worked with parents. Okay, take a picture of this. They start thinking about what level of play were these people, Olympic level, or were they 5-year-olds learning the fundamentals? That's a different type of coaching, right? What did they improve? Did they learn the plays or the format of the game? So let me show you reworded. A moment to read through that. Take a picture if you'd like. So again, I'm not saying these are perfect, but they provide a lot more detail and they're more results focused. And you'll notice always that first bullet helps me paint the picture. Okay. If you've had an internship and it actually had you working in a clinic, that is going to be more impressive than saying worked with people rehabbing their knees. So worked in a clinic setting alongside a PT to XYZ. Okay, so paint the picture. Okay. All right, I'm gonna test you guys. Now that you know the 3 questions in the chat box, one of these bullets is stronger than the other 2. In the chat box, tell me which one is the strongest, A, B, or C?
B, B, A, A, oops, B, B, A. Come on, let's get the answers. I got only 3. B, B.
Good. All right, so
B, B.
the answer is B. Now A is pretty good, okay?
Oh, she says, I didn't say B because it's 3 lines long.
So that I'm tricking you here. So it's actually 3 lines because of my screen. When I typed it out resume form, it was only 2. So good catch. But so A is good. You're showing the size of the team and what you did. You ran a campus-wide orientation, but you're not telling me anything like, did it suck? Was it good? Did people like it? Like, I mean, you don't know. I don't know. You're not telling me. So make sure if you have any way of demonstrating that it was successful, it's a good idea to mention that. I also want to mention some people, everyone has different styles. I've had teachers and students who say, I don't know, Kristin, B is way too wordy. And I say, you know what? Maybe it is. Like, you have to make it your own style. And I actually, I don't see it happen too often with students where they're trying to just throw in too many keywords. Usually they're not using enough, but I have had, like the one thing that actually made me laugh was someone said, each of their bullets, they had gone to my workshop, and I should have clarified this. Each of their bullet had a number, but it was like excessive. So it was like increased sales by 150%. Sold over $3 million worth of XYZ. And it was just too much. And it was like, and it was all very like over 100%. And instead of being impressed, I was like, they must be exaggerating. So just be careful. There is a balance, right? Don't overdo the numbers. Now, if you're trying to get a sales job, that's different. But if your numbers are like really outrageous and you use them every single bullet, someone might think you're trying to pull the wool over their eyes. So you have to balance everything in moderation. Any other questions on this one? Okay. So here is an opportunity for you guys. Does anyone, I think you'd probably need to say it out loud or maybe put in the chat. Do you have a bullet on your resume that you're like, okay, now that I've sat through this presentation, I know this bullet needs work, but I still just don't have any idea how to fix it. So I need someone to kind of put me on the spot, and we'll kind of work through it together and see if we can improve it. So this could be either verbally telling me, or if you want to put it in the chat, but I need someone to be vulnerable and share and see if I can help you out.
Managed facility maintenance and organization.
Okay, I like it. So managed facility maintenance. So the details I'd like you to add is how large was the organization? Because if you just did facilities for a two-person shop, so what size company is this?
It was a regular classroom.
Okay, so maybe you would just clarify managed facility maintenance in a university setting or in a classroom setting.
Okay.
And if you managed facilities, sometimes it helps to give a little bit of detail. So what kind of facilities? Are you doing a lot of stocking? Were you in charge of ordering? Tell me more.
So it was basically cleaning up after the kids.
Okay.
I was a para educator, and then we just had to clean after the kids made the mess.
Okay, so that's a great, what's your name?
Juan.
Juan, thank you for sharing. So that is one where we've all had jobs like this. You're like, yeah, I cleaned up after someone. Even after you get your bachelor's degree, you're still going to be, there's going to be elements of your job like that. Okay, none of us are beyond that. But instead of focusing on the cleanup, why is it so important, Juan, that you clean up and keep that environment very clean for these students? You tell me.
It provides a safe environment for them, especially if you have sharp objects such as scissors.
Mm-hmm. So you need to say that you maintained a safe and sanitized environment for a vulnerable student population.
Okay, that makes more sense. Thank you.
Yeah, great one. Does anyone else want to share? Everybody else has perfect bullets.
I have one. How do you explain being a head of a program, but you're not a supervisor or a director, but you run the program?
Okay. What kind of program is it?
It's a rehab services program, exercise rehab, aquatic therapy.
Okay. So I think the challenge I'm having is with run. Maybe there's a better word than run. So
Lead.
Lead is much stronger. So led a aquatic therapy rehab session for older adults
Yes.
seeking something. If you say your bullet again, I might be able to add more.
Lead aquatic rehab exercise specialist for the geriatric aquatic program.
Okay, so I like that as your first bullet because it's kind of like painting the picture for me. But then you're going to need other bullets about, you know, what kind of, were you doing a lot of like demonstrating of certain types of exercises, or were you ensuring proper form and technique
Yes.
to reduce
Yes.
injuries?
Yes. Those are the bullets. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Was that over at the Tiffany Center?
No, this is a facility in San Leandro.
Cool. Okay. I know a lot of students do their work over at the Tiffany Center. So great job. Okay. So we're going to move on because I don't want to keep you guys forever, but just if you're stuck after this, you know, you can always email me and we can schedule an appointment to go over your individual questions. Okay. Really quick. Why have I been teaching you all these things? Oops. About keywords and making the formatting so it's not too busy and it's really easy to read. So how many people, give me a yes in the chat box, have heard of applicant tracking systems? Give me a yes if you've heard of what, you know what an applicant tracking system is. So probably not a whole lot. This is really important. I want you guys to write this name down. You should Google this, okay? So larger organizations, when they post a job online, you know, they could very easily, especially during COVID, I would post a job at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 12, I would have 60 or 70 resumes. Okay, one person in HR doesn't have time to look at 60 or 70 resumes. So a lot of larger organizations use a computer system called an applicant tracking system. And the whole point is it will scan your resume that you've turned in, and it will score you based on the words that you're using. And it will look to see how many years of experience you've been doing things. And it's going to scan for keywords. So maybe they are looking for someone with a certification in personal training. So you've got to have that on your resume. Otherwise, you're not going to match and get that point. Okay. So, when students come to me and they're like, Kristin, I've applied to 100 positions and I've gotten 0 phone calls, I'm like, all right, let's talk about your resume. It sounds like you're getting kicked out by the applicant tracking system. So couple things with the applicant tracking system is applicant tracking systems don't tend to like column resumes. They don't like pictures and icons. It can confuse them, okay? So always have a very drilled down basic version of your resume that doesn't have all the extra colors and everything that you can submit online. And maybe if you have a prettier resume with color, maybe bring that to the interview and print it out. But you probably should be submitting something a little bit more basic and easy to read. I know a lot of college students love using templates because they can just enter in their information, but a lot of these templates have lots of columns, and that's not good for the applicant tracking system. So just be careful. Any questions on those tracking systems? Okay. We've learned a lot of tips today. Here are a couple more that you can check out later. Okay, you guys all have used VMOC at this point. Hopefully you didn't have any trouble with it. Now, if all you do is you already upload your resume on VMOC and you got a score and you went, ugh, and then you got like really overwhelmed by all the feedback and you're like, oh, forget it, I'm done. And if you never look at it again and you never upload another resume, you kind of you did it a disservice, okay? So you can upload at least 10 versions of your resume to VMOC for free while you're a student. Now, once you graduate, you don't have access anymore, okay? Because you're gonna use your SJSU login credentials. So upload your resume, you've all done that already. Get your points from Aliv proving you've done it. Now you've taken my workshop make some changes to your resume, upload it again. You should see a point increase, okay? And if you still don't see a point increase, then follow up with me and I can help you some more, okay? But use VMOC. It's not as good as individual feedback. It's a computer. It's not perfect, but it actually gives some good like formatting. It picks up on good like duplication. We did that exercise earlier where you guys were making sure you were highlighting the variety of skills like analytical and communication. It does that for you, okay? So use it. Bullet number 2, if you have not seen the sample resume for kinesiology students that's in this resume and cover letter guide, I know Olive already gave this to you, you are doing yourself a disservice because they have project examples on that resume that may help you understand how to write your bullets, okay? So it has all kinds of tips. It has the same information I shared at the beginning, but it also has sample resumes for every major at San Jose State, okay? Check it out. And then last but not least, you can meet with someone like myself one-on-one virtually through Spartan Connect. You just put in, I think we're considered under the location or section, put in career, and then you'll find career counselors. Now remember, I would love to work with every single one of you guys. I love working with kinesiology students. All the career counselors, we all have our own specialties. My specialty is health, but we're also generalist. And I only work Monday through Thursday, and I can only meet with 5 people a day. So I'm pretty booked up at this point. But you can always log back in, more appointments open up. So what I'm saying is, if you can't make an appointment with me, please make it with another career counselor. Like, they're all great. You all have the same training. Maybe they haven't studied kinesiology the way I have, but they're wonderful and you should get their feedback. Okay. All right. So now you've got these resources.
I had a quick question. We did the personalities. And if you were to be including this on a resume, where would you put it?
So when you do, like, did you do like a Myers-Briggs type thing? Is that what you're talking about with personalities? Like you did an assessment?
Alef, what is the, I don't forget the company, whatever, you provided the link.
Personalities. Remember, Kristin, last year I was having them do, they come up with this 5-letter INFJ.
Yeah, Myers-Briggs. Yeah.
Yes.
So, where I usually see that, I don't see it on a resume very often.
Cover letter, I would think.
I have definitely seen it in a cover letter. It can be a really interesting way to be like, I'm an INFP, and I was, you know, that really matches the fact that I really like to investigate and I like to do this. And so I see that more in a cover letter or coming out in a interview to kind of demonstrate. Unless you're applying for a company that's very into that kind of thing, then you definitely put it on your resume. All right, so here's some tips on the cover letter. It'll break down what you should say paragraph by paragraph. The challenge that I need to, or that students face, is that all the cover letters can kind of sound the same. Like, I saw this job on Indeed.com and I'm applying for. So I'd like you to work with your teacher or me or someone to make sure your personality comes through, because that's the hard thing during COVID is recruiters are looking for someone who can, there's this 3-step model. In the 3-step model, and you can write this down, I think this is pretty important. When they're reviewing your resume or they're interviewing you, they're trying to figure out 3 things. Number 1, can you do the job? Can you do the job? So do you have the skills? Basic, maybe you need to be able to use Word, Excel, whatever. Number 2, will you do the job? So that's more of like an intrinsic motivation. Like, are you going to come to work every day and have a good attitude? Okay, keep learning. The last one is, will I like doing the job with you? So our coworkers, we spend more time with them than our own family members. Okay, so your personality should come through in the cover letter. Okay, and there's a lot of different ways you can do this. There's tips and articles in the cover letter guide. that, and I can help you with that as well. This also happens in your personal statements for your master's programs. We have a, make a note, there's what's called, I think it's called a graduate school guide or graduate admissions guide on the San Jose State Career Center page. And there's a whole page on personal statements that gives you tips. Okay, so this is a hard one for me to give feedback on. So I'm just giving you this basic resource and letting you know that I'm available to chat with you about this. Okay. Any general questions on cover letters? Like, don't do this, do this. Anything you want to run by me?
Well, what's something you wouldn't want to include on a cover letter?
Do not include, good question. You would not believe how many people will write, I'm applying for the X position at Y company, and it's wrong. Like, they haven't personalized it. Like, that's just kiss of death. Okay, so you have to reread and make sure you haven't made any mistakes. I had someone who emailed me today. She's an alumni, and she said, Kristin, I've applied to so many jobs, and I can't figure out why I'm not getting anything. And I read her cover letter, and my first thought was, wow, she is a really smart, good writer, like very well done. But I haven't given her this feedback yet. I think what the problem is she was too honest. So be careful about, this person was applying for a job working with students who deal with mental health issues. And there's a very fine balance between relating with the population and telling someone you've never met before, I have ADHD and I've gone through a lot of treatment for it. So some companies are very open-minded, but the recruiter who's reading your letter, they're looking to make a really quick judgment on you. So be careful about sharing something like, I think you should be very proud, and if maybe you feel very comfortable sharing that you're LGBTQ or whatever, that's wonderful. I would be hesitant to put that in a cover letter because you don't know how open-minded your recruiter is. I would wait until you've at least interviewed and you've met with the team and you've felt them out, and then decide, is this the kind of open-minded environment that I can just share all this stuff? You just don't know how open-minded everyone is. So be careful about oversharing before they meet you. That would be that's come up quite a bit with students lately. So I hope I didn't offend by saying that, but everybody is so different in, yeah, that was a hard one. Hard one. Hopefully that helps.
No, thank you. It really does. I know personally, I'm pretty much an open book, so it's very easy for me to just lay it out. I also am, I think I'm pretty okay with writing professionally and kind of leaving some of that out, but I know that's a natural tendency. So thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, I've certainly, it's such a hard conversation to have, to be like, you're probably going to be great at this job because you've overcome these obstacles and you've been where these students are, but ooh, you just don't know if your recruiter is going to be like, ooh, mental health, ding, 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 ding. You just don't know. All right, guys. So here are your main 3 takeaways. Really important to be using keywords, makes you sound a lot smarter. Make sure you're highlighting your relevant skills. And you've now learned this 3-question method to make sure your bullets are accomplishments that transfer from any job to what you're doing next, okay? So what I was thinking next is, so it's 2:55, and you guys have been great. You've asked so many good questions. I know this is long, it's hard for Zoom. I was thinking I would kind of open up to any questions either on the workshop, but also specifically on VMOC. I know sometimes people do VMOC and they're like, oh my God, I did not agree with any of this feedback. That's okay. You know, or they'll say like, it told me that I left out the education section and I didn't. Like, it's computer, it's not perfect. The thing with VMOC is to see if you can see your score increase. It's not all about getting to that green perfect level, because the thing you guys need to know about VMOC is I'm trained in this and I didn't get a perfect score. It's really, really, really hard. Okay, so don't go for perfection. Just see if you can make some changes and see your score increase. Okay, and if you're feeling overwhelmed, take the section that is looking at maybe where you could make the most difference. I know personally I found it a bit overwhelming because there's so much feedback, but if you take it section by section, it gives good stuff. So let's open it up on the chat board. What kind of questions, issues, anything on VMOC didn't make sense to you, anything like that?
So Katie,
I wish,
sorry. Katie was offering her cover letter to be picked apart.
Sure.
Go ahead. Who was talking? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
So let's
it's
take
Oliver. I'm sorry.
Oliver.
I wish I would have heard those comments before I uploaded my resume to VMOX, because I took that joker about 5 times and I got a different score every time. I was like, am I supposed to be shooting for 100? I was like, oh my God.
Yeah,
But
it's
at
very
least I got
picky.
20 points above, but wow.
Yeah.
That was my question, is that, you know, do we have to shoot for that 100?
No, you'll never get there. You'll never get there. Just improve, just focus on improvement. And then just make sure you have a live person look it over. And if you don't agree with the feedback, it's your resume. It's not, who cares what the score is. It's just trying to make some small improvements.
Okay, thank you.
Katie, I don't know if Olive, I need you to do this, but I think it might be helpful if Katie shared her screen. Let's see if I can allow her to do that, or if Olive needs.
I can do that.
Okay.
All right. Katie, are you ready?
So Katie, go ahead and share your screen if you want to do that.
Yeah, I'm just, there we go.
Uh-oh.
Great. Okay. Can you, oh, that's your resume. Do you want to pull
Oh,
up your,
sorry, it's on the wrong page.
no
There
problem.
you go.
All right, and can you make it bigger?
Yeah.
Maybe just increase, there you go, perfect. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave it up on the screen as is, Katie, and I'm gonna give everyone a chance quietly to read it, and then I'll give you a little bit of feedback, but thank you so much for putting it out there, because yeah, being vulnerable, this is probably gonna be very helpful for everyone, so I'm gonna be quiet and read through. Great. Okay, Katie, you did a wonderful, wonderful job. So first off, let me give you my first impressions, which is what I usually do for people. You come off, well, I can tell you have a personality because of the way you've used like the color and like everything. So I will just falsely assume that you seem like someone who's like kind of like warm and friendly, which is great. You're a very good writer, so you come off as very smart. What I've taken away is that you have like a life before all this, and you have work experience that has allowed you, like you're really good with people, and it looks like you would work well in an office environment too, and your grades are great. Okay, so those are the big takeaways.
Awesome.
If I was going to give you some feedback, the feedback I would give you, and this is a hard one. Be careful. We talked about sharing a moment ago, okay?
Right.
And so I tell people, now this is different if you know your interviewer or you have a lot of really good inside information in your company, because maybe this company is super family friendly and everything.
Right.
But I would be careful. I would not share in a cover letter or even in an interview. I would not share that I'm a mom. I would not share anything that would give them an idea of my age. The reason is that there is a lot of ageism out there, and there's also some people like, I'm a working mom, and I think we're amazing. And my whole team is working moms and we're rock stars. But there are some people out there that feel like, oh, you have other priorities or whatever. So if I read your resume or cover letter, and then I read a cover letter of someone who seemed more just like right out of college, I'm going to think they have like no responsibilities, can probably just work a ton of hours. So just see how I'm like, already I don't even know you, and I'm like trying to like figure you out. So be real careful about that. I don't think you need the paragraph about taking a gap in your employment. But I like that you highlighted that you managed to complete 3 full semesters and get a 3.5. I mean, that is great. Like that you did that in a short time while you were, what if you just said you were managing, you had some family responsibilities during that time, but you were able to manage family along with 3 classes and still get a 3.5. That's
Right.
a bit more general, and it doesn't like, they won't like dig into, oh, I wonder how old she is. I wonder how.
Yeah, in this particular circumstance, I had already established a rapport with my interviewer.
Perfect.
And because previously I just had that there was a gap in my work history to return to my education or to focus on my education. But because I had known her prior to sending this in, that's why I felt more comfortable to put the family aspect into this letter.
Perfect. So that's an example of knowing your audience. So that's good. Now, again, if you did not know your audience, you would also want to be careful. Like in that second line, you said flight attendant for 8 years. That could be, they could start going in and crunch the numbers on your age. So just be careful with that stuff. But I think overall you did a nice job. I think you're making a nice connection between, I have experience with a lot of customer contact. You seem warm, you seem friendly, and I like how you end your letter with, I'm looking forward to your response and thank you for consideration. Like it shows a little bit of confidence. Like, yeah, look forward to hearing from you. I'd love to schedule an interview with you. So you come across as smart and confident. So overall, really well done, and a good use of knowing who your audience is. So really, really nice job.
Thanks. And I hope that helped for other people who are maybe starting to think about doing their cover letter. It's hard to write about yourself, and I definitely pulled some of my strengths from other people, friends and family.
Yeah.
That helps make it a lot easier to write.
Yeah, I totally agree, Katie. Thank you so much. I really feel like whoever knows you best, mom, dad, boyfriend, girlfriend, roommate, best friend, ask them, because they will help you identify a couple key skills that you wanna highlight.
And
also want to say you did a nice job on your profile picture. So I can't see people the way this workshop is right now. I can see Sasha, but I can't see anybody else. So one tip I have as a career counselor is make sure your photo that you're using for these meetings is very professional. Like Katie's comes across very warm and friendly. Her makeup is very neutral, just looks friendly. The other thing I want to point out is Sasha has stood out to me throughout the presentation because she had her video on and she was smiling and she was engaged. Everybody else on the screen, now I'm sure if I scroll over, there's other people. Actually, no, nobody else has their camera on. So you're not standing out. By not having your camera on, people start making like a false impression that you're not engaged. And I also wanted to mention to you guys, we have a career fair coming up specifically for people who are passionate about health. Okay, so that's you. It's on October 8th and it's called the Health Career Fair. I'll send additional information to Aleph. It is all being done virtually. Thank you, Haley, for turning on your camera. It's all being done virtually. And so these tips I'm giving you, all of this is how you present yourself is so critical right now.
I was going to say and add that 16 personalities, some of you, I read your reflection statements and some of you are very pleased with the answer. I mean, the results, and you can relate it to your, skills, which stand you out from the rest of the population. So I would highly recommend you utilize that in your cover letter too, in a professional way. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Kristin?
Absolutely. We're reading through your resume and we're just trying to get like a quick glimpse, and anything that I think it was Katie was saying that, she knew something about her interviewer, you want to like you, I'm a San Jose State alumni, or anything you can do very quickly to make a connection with who you're talking to. Whether it's you like their shirt, you like their video background. My son had an OT appointment online earlier today, and his OT made instant connection with him by noticing he was wearing a soccer jersey and started talking to him about soccer. So these skills are even more important during COVID and we're looking at your background, okay? So be very careful of what's going on in your virtual background. Haley, I so appreciate you turning on your camera. Thank you for following through on that. I will tell you, your background is a bit dark. So maybe if you were gonna go, that's actually better. There you go. So there's some ways and tricks you can put some lights. I don't know. Thank you, Katie Hoffer, and she's outside and perfect. Yeah, you have to be careful about where the light is in the room. But light for Katie H is very good. And what's also good about Katie H's background is it's not too busy. Okay, it's just wood. Sasha, be careful with your background because you've got a lot of stuff going on back there. So if you can if you're in a room, oh, that's better. That's much better. Yeah, be careful about having too much in the background. Yes, good job, girl.
Good job.
Yes.
Much better.
And Haley G, when you moved your camera, it was much better because before it looked like you were in this like hole of picture frames. And so you want to go with basic for these interviews. And then the last thing I'll tell you, I'll call out Katie H. You've had a nice smile on your face the whole time. The thing that's even really hard for me during this presentation is the longer you're sitting here waiting for someone, you're going to fall into this. It's really bad. Okay. So Katie's done a great job. Sasha, you too. Just make it's harder for your personality to come through, but be very careful about hand on the face, make sure you're smiling. And the other thing is make sure you're not too much, but you need to move your head, and you should talk with your hands, not too much, but You just seem like less of a robot when you're, so.
These are so valuable. Thank you, Kristin. Seriously,
It's funny that
these
you
are
say
so
to
important.
make sure that you're moving every now and then, because today I was hosting a class and somebody, I thought they were frozen. So I was like, Lydia, are you with me? And she was just like, yeah, I'm here. I was like, I thought you were frozen. I'm sorry.
Well, you're lucky that they turned their cameras on. Just put yourself in my situation. I'm looking at darkness constantly. I don't see any faces, and sometimes I'm like, am I just talking to myself?
Yeah, and so I'm working from my bedroom. That's where I have to work. Otherwise, I have like kids going through the background and everything. So I set up this virtual background. Actually, usually use my San Jose State one, but it wasn't working today because I don't want you to see the mess of my bedroom. That would be a real turnoff. So you just have to pick up on stuff. The other thing is, I know I never wear my hair up. I don't like the way my hair looks up, but I didn't have time this morning. So I might be tempted to do the workshop with my camera off, but it's actually better to look bad and have your face on the camera because it shows engagement to the recruiter. They're not going to be judging you that much. It's better, they're going to get a better feel for you if they can see your face.
Awesome.
Any other questions? Especially I had you guys do VMOC because I think it's super valuable. And the big thing is just making sure you actually try to incorporate the feedback. It's not God though, you know, you gotta make your own decisions. But the number one mistake people make is they upload it and then they never try and fix it, or they never look through the directions, and then it's just kind of a waste. So any other questions? Did anyone disagree with their VMOC or not know how to make any changes, anything like that?
I have a question.
Sure.
Dr. Keller. I know, of course, for resume, this is helping up for job search, but since we are in a kinesiology major for all of us here, I'm not quite sure, but even if it's maybe not like for a sports management or for a sports team, some of us before have maybe had to play team sports as required for our major, but I'm just wondering, should we, maybe as well to Miss Dietrich, should we put in our sport we have played into our resume?
I think yes, but not, it can be done wrong. So if you played sports, you guys are graduating college, so let's just assume you fall into the bandwidth of, you know, you've been here for 4 years. If you're relying on leadership from high school or sports from high school, don't even bother, okay? Because it shows that you haven't kept up with it. However, if you happen to be, you were in the Olympics or something, that's different. But no, I think since you're in a sports field, you know, clarifying that you're a member even of an intramural team or a recreational team, or if you're a former first baseman, like all that stuff is really important. It makes you relatable. So yes, just don't pull on stuff from too long ago because it looks like you're trying too hard.
I agree.
I don't know, maybe what if it was something like a marathon or some,
Yes.
I don't know, some sports-based event by the state or federal government, for example?
Yes, absolutely. So maybe you have an activity section and you could say you're a marathon runner or participant in the 10K, blah, blah, blah. Don't list a list of 10Ks you've done, but yeah, highlight 1 or 2, especially if you're getting into the field. It just shows your involvement in the community.
It's funny that you just mentioned that, the running, because I actually still have to complete the virtual beta breakers. I have been lazy about doing it because my daughter has been sick, but yeah, gotta do my beta breakers this week.
Yeah, It makes you very just relatable. It also, like, I'm going to make assumptions. It just shows you have goals and you try things, and you know that's what we look for when we're recruiting. I also would say that this is kind of like, I'll be soapboxy for a second. I mentioned I was in the sports industry for a couple of years. And one thing that's kind of surprised a lot of my kinesiology students is if you're trying to like kind of figure out like, what you want to do after graduation, right? Yes, you can get a master's and go on and do this other stuff or follow these paths that are a little bit more clear cut. But I mean, there's also like I worked for a sports company and I did human resources for a sports, like you guys have probably heard of it. It's called active.com. And they, years ago, were very involved in organizing races. And you could sign up online for your races and stuff, right? So I was attracted to the company because I am an ex-athlete and I wanted to do human resources because I like helping people. But here was an opportunity for me to work for a company, and like on the weekends, everybody was doing races and beta breakers in rec sports. So I share this with you guys because there's not just one path after you graduate. And if you're not sure how to like fit in your love of sports, know that there's sports companies out there like Active. There's a lot, like right now, everybody's in quarantine. There's a lot of like, they're doing a lot of sales of sports equipment. There's a lot of people starting online training. Organizing online races, like Katie was talking about. So there's just so many ways you can incorporate your love of fitness beyond just being an athletic trainer. So if you want to have a meeting to kind of brainstorm, like career counseling is also that, like trying to figure out, and also it's COVID. So some jobs kind of went away. So how do maybe you're not going to get your dream job now, but we can find something for you to work and get paid and build experience. And when COVID's over, you could maybe move into something a little bit more directly. So that's my soapbox.
Great. Do they have to do anything to sign up for this, health fair that is coming up?
Yeah, that's a great question. So let me just show you guys. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Let's try that. Okay, can you guys see my VMOC screen?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to go to the Career Center page. So it's sjsu.edu/Career Center.
Yep.
And a lot of our tools and tips and tricks you'll find under the resources section. Okay. That's where you found VMOC. If you liked those tests, Focus 2 does a lot of that for you as well. If you're wanting to practice your interview questions or like figure out, like write these stories about how you're going to prove you're organized, not just say organized. Big Interview does that. And that Big Interview, I also want to give that a props real quick because I've talked to you guys a lot about how you talk and behave on a computer. Big Interview, you can actually record yourself answering questions and play it back. Cool. And you can also email those videos to me or Olive, and we'll give you feedback like, you're not smiling enough. You're not looking at the camera, so that's good. But let me just show you. So our career fair is in Handshake, okay? And this is also a job board, right? So you can also go to one.sjsu.edu and just type in Handshake. So let's get in there. Maybe not. Okay. So if you guys have never logged into Handshake before, this is a good time to do it. You just need to put your SJSU login in. Let me just pretend I'm a student here, so it looks like yours. Okay, so this is, if you were to log into Handshake, this is what it looks like. You can look for jobs. We have a lot of internships, part-time, full-time jobs, okay? We also have a lot of events. So we do workshops on things like resumes, but also how to build your LinkedIn profile and how to network online. We have all kinds of stuff on there. But for now, I think we're going to go into events, which is the career fair. So here are all the events that we have coming up. And I'm going to click on career fair. So
Yeah.
this is the health fair on October 8th. So if you click on it, it says I'm not qualified because I graduated too long ago and allow alumni this time. You would be able to join, okay? So here is the list of employers who are going to be there right now. And I'm sharing this with you guys for a couple reasons. Our career fairs are much smaller this year than they were in the past because there's not as much hiring going on, okay? A lot of people would typically look at this list and be like, well, I don't want to work for any of those companies. I'm not going. Okay, I'm going to tell you that's a bad idea because it's COVID and these people are hiring and want to hire San Jose State students. So even if no one sounds interesting, go and practice being on camera. You'll get the option to do 2 types of events. You can schedule a one-on-one meeting with the employer, which is a 10-minute interview, or you can join a group session where they're just going to be talking to you about their products and you can ask them questions. So if I were you, I would say, like, I've been encouraging a lot of my professors, like, sorry, Olive, I'm going to throw you under the bus. I'm like, offer extra credit for anyone who proves they went, because this is your opportunity to practice these skills.
Sure.
Talking. So there, see, extra credit. What you want to do is look through, like, County of Santa Clara is going to be there. Guys, they have hundreds of jobs for people, even in connected with Parks and Rec and sports and entry-level stuff. It's not just these jobs. Okay, you have to go to their website and find out what they're hiring for. Okay, so don't be put off by the fact that they don't say rec. Okay, and you would be able to learn about them, and you could also register for the one-on-one appointment or the group meeting. I can't do that because I'm not a student, but so it's not enough just to register for the fair. You actually need to register for the fair, and then you need to register for a one-on-one or register for a group meeting. So Reliant rehabilitation could be very interesting. I think they're looking for people a little bit more experienced than you guys right now, but you should go and learn about them and find out what they do, because they provide services you might be eligible to do down the line or give you some good advice. And they're hiring all throughout the United States. There's a couple school related programs right now because a lot of schools are hiring because parents like me are dying trying to manage our children and work. Like, there's some opportunities here with regards to, like, the jails and everything. I know maybe that doesn't sound appealing to everyone, but I'd encourage you to go and at least listen, and just because you may find out about an opportunity you never even thought of. Okay, so that's how you go and register.
Okay.
Event, and tell all your friends that they should go too. And then ask your professors if you can have extra credit. When you take a picture of you in the event.
Yeah, I will. I totally am, all for improving your career skills. So yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions? I've kept you guys really long. You can always send me an email. I'm gonna go ahead and just put my email in the chat box. That's probably the easiest way to do it right now. Hold on 1 second.
I think they do have your email address because I copied and pasted one of your emails, and I think it's embedded in that email, but I'm not sure.
Perfect. Yeah, just make sure that you email me at kristin.m.keller because the other Kristin Keller gets all my emails. SJSU.edu. So that's in the chat box.
Thank you.
And yeah, so you can remember Spartan Connect is where you schedule appointments. I hope to see some of you guys at the health fair on October 8th. And you have access to career counseling services for 1 year after graduation, because we realize COVID is making this tough for you. But a couple things cut off. And one of the things that cut off is VMOC, unfortunately, cuts off. But I think all of our other services, you can even continue with face-to-face appointments with a career counselor for a year after, which we didn't used to offer. So, but it's actually much better if you try and get as much help as you can before graduation, because after graduation, the clock starts ticking and you're stressed. So please take advantage. We've got 10 career counselors on our team who are here and ready to help you out. All right, I think I'll cut it off there. I've talked your ear off, but thank you so much. You guys have been great. So many good questions. Thank you to all of you guys who shared, and I hope made the presentation more interesting. And I hope to see you guys at the fair, and just stay safe, take good care of yourselves, and give yourselves a pat on the back for getting to this point in your education, regardless of COVID. Like, you have, you know, passed through all of that. And that's one of the qualities that employers look for, is resilience. And I honestly think that's something probably San Jose State students have more of than anyone else. So yeah, hopefully get to meet with you guys in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kristin. We appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for having me, Aleph.
Oh, that was
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.